the black player, he played the move h5. And this seems like a good move, this seems like a great idea, but the problem is this is a mistake. Because when he plays the move h5, now I have a tactical variation here which I can use to win the game. Hi there, this is Heramb Bhagwat, and today we are going to see a game where I won against an international master. So let me take you through the game and various different interesting moments in the game where both me and my opponent could have played better. So let's dive straight into it. So this was my game which I played in the year 2018 in the tournament Maheshwarananda Saraswat, where I won against international master Samir Kathmale. And in this particular game, there were a lot of ups and downs throughout the game where both sides could have played better. So today, let's just objectively try to understand what both sides could have done better and how both sides could have got an advantage over the other side. So let's dive into it. So this is my game. I'm white here, and in this particular position, I played the move d4. So I opened with the move d4. Now this is my usual choice. I generally play with d4. Sometimes I play other openings, but generally I am a d4 player. Black played d5. I played c4. Black played c6. Knight f3. Knight f6. Knight c3. And here my opponent took d takes c4. Now this is one of the main lines where black takes d into c4, and at that time I didn't knew that this was a main line. I thought that this is just some unorthodox move that my opponent found and he's trying to trick me. And here I thought for a while and simply understood that black is going to play b5 and support the pawn. So I simply played the move a4. Now here I could have done many other things. I could have played e3, I could have played bishop to f4, but I found that a4 is the best because it prevents black from playing b5. And let's just suppose if black plays the move a6, then I'm going to play the move a5 here, and again b5 becomes impossible because I can capture a into b6. So for that reason, here it becomes very difficult for black to do something. And that's the reason my opponent played this move a5. And it seems a little bit strange, like why the black player is playing this move a5. And maybe it is later he wants to place his bishop on the b4 square and he wants it to be supported by the a5 pawn. So in this position I had two options, in fact three options. One is go e3, second is go e4, and third is go g3. So I found that e4 was the most natural move and I played the move e4 here. Now here my opponent immediately blitzed out the move bishop g4. And here is the point where I was thinking really seriously, because I understood that my opponent is either well prepared or he is bluffing. So here I took some time and I understood what is black's idea. So black's idea here is he is going to take bishop into f3 and then he is going to capture queen takes d4. And when you see this, this looks really scary because after all he is winning a pawn here. And it looks like if I give up this pawn, then some bad things can happen for me. So the most natural move here is the move bishop e3, which just supports the pawn, and now if bishop takes f3 I can take queen takes f3 and there are no problems. But here I understood that black has ignored development and black has played the move a5. So I want you to pause the video, think for some time and tell me what can we do going forward. Is bishop e3 the only way to support the pawn, or is there another interesting option that we have? So think about it, pause the video and think about it. Hope you have paused the video and you have thought about this position in detail. So in the real game, I captured bishop takes c4. And you might be saying, but Heramb, aren't you scared about bishop takes f3? So the point is, after bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, queen takes d4, I'm simply going to play queen back to e2, and the point is, now I can play bishop e3, and then if the queen goes to e5, I can play f4. And then if you see, black only has 3 pieces developed, while white would have multiple pieces developed because all of his pieces are out. White will soon play castles, and after he gets f4 castles, white is just doing amazing. And that's the reason I found that okay, I'm losing a pawn, I'm sacrificing a pawn, but at least I'm getting active pieces. And this is very important to learn. Many a times we are afraid that we are going to lose material and we let our creativity die. We simply say that I cannot be creative because if I'm creative then I lose material. If I lose material, I lose the game. But we need to realize that sometimes we should be comfortable in sacrificing material if we are getting active pieces. If we are getting active pieces, then there is no way we should play passively. We should go for an all-in attack, even if we are losing a pawn or a piece. So let's dive deep into what happened. He did not take bishop into f3 in the real game. In the real game, he simply played the move e6. And when he played the move e6, he was also stopping my threat of bishop takes f7, king takes f7, knight e5 check, king e8, knight takes g5. So that was my idea, but when he played the move e6, that idea was eliminated. Now again, I could have played a bishop e3 and played a safe game, which was okay, but I did not do that. Here I again said, let me sacrifice the pawn. So I simply played castles, and this time he really got tempted. He said like, let me take bishop f3, queen f3 and queen d4. Now this position is in a human way is very easy for white to play. If you are the white player, all you have to do is you have to play queen e2, bishop e3, f4 and maybe rook a d1. If you do that, your position is just amazing. And that's what I did. I just played queen e2, black played knight b d7, bishop e3, queen e5, f4, queen c7, and here I simply played the move rook a d1. So if you see, I'm doing nothing special. I'm just developing my pieces naturally. I'm just developing quickly so that I have this advantage in activity and my opponent doesn't get enough time to develop his pieces. If you just take a look at the entire position, right now black has all of his pieces on the first rank. He has only 3 pieces developed, that is the queen and the 2 knights. Whereas if you see the white's position, here white has developed all of his pieces. His queen is doing okay, his bishop on c4 is active, his bishop on e3 is active, his knight on c3 is active, his rook on d1 is active, his rook on f1 is doing okay. And that's the reason I can say that I would prefer white here, because it's very simple to play. My next plan is just to attack. I am going to just open the position with f5 and I'm going to just attack my opponent. So here my opponent should have played the move bishop c5, trying to exchange one of my pieces, which was an active piece. But what he did instead is he played the move bishop b4, which was a little bit of a mistake, because he maybe want to play, his idea maybe is to play bishop takes c3, b takes c3, knight takes e4, but this did not work because I had a stronger plan here and I simply played the move f5. And now he cannot really take bishop takes c3, because if he takes bishop takes c3, b takes c3, knight takes e4, then it becomes very difficult for him to play after the move f takes e6. And no, any ideas like knight takes c6 won't really work, because his d7 knight is hanging, his f7 pawn is hanging. So at the very least I can just take e takes d7 and I would get a very pleasant position. And that's the reason here in the real game my opponent thought that let me just push the pawn forward, and he pushed this pawn forward. He said let me play e5 and then let me see what to do. And this is a critical moment because in this particular position, if you don't find the right resources, if you just play some slow moves, then there's a strong possibility that your opponent is going to get away with his initial opening mistake. So this is your chance. Pause the video for some time and think about it. What would be the best move for white in this particular position? Okay, I hope you have taken a pause and I hope you have thought deeply about this position. So here I had multiple ideas. One is just sacrificing the bishop with bishop takes f7 and then playing queen c4 check. But I understood that if I take bishop takes f7, he will simply take king takes f7, queen c4 check, and he will just go back somewhere king f8. And there is no attack after that. I felt that it's just I'm just wasting my moves here, so that doesn't really make sense. So I said bishop takes f7, I have to reject. So another idea I have here is I can play g4 with the idea of playing g5 and driving away the knight here. The third idea I have is to play bishop g5 and try to do something with the f6 knight, putting pressure on that. However, I played none of these moves. I did not play g4, I did not play bishop f7, I did not play bishop g5. The move which I played here is the move bishop e6. And right now you might be in shock, you might say, but what is this? Like, can't he just take f into e6? So the point is, it's not that simple, because if he takes f into e6, I can take f into e6. And now you may say, but what's the big deal again? The knight is attacked, right? So can't he just move the knight away? Can't he just move the knight to f8? But that's not so easy, because if he plays knight to f8 here, I can simply take rook takes f6. And after I take rook takes f6, he can take g takes f6, then I can play queen h5 check, he can play knight g6, and here I have this amazing move rook d7. And now you see the queen is attacked. The queen either has to capture the rook, then which will be a double-edged position, or he has to play queen c8. And the point is, when he plays queen to c8, I can play queen h6 and then go queen g7. So this was my idea, this was my plan. And maybe this is, I can say, after queen d7, ed7, king takes d7, both sides can fight. But practically, when you see this on the board and you have not expected the move bishop e6, it becomes very tough for you to somehow go and calculate all these variations. So after bishop e6, my opponent, he simply played castles. He simply played castles and he said, like, why should I spend so much time on calculating all these variations? Let me play castles. And when he did that, now I can say that I really have some good compensation. So I simply took bishop into d7, knight into d7, and I played the move f6 here. And now again you see that if he takes the pawn g takes f6, then this is just bishop h6 and queen g4, queen g7 is mate. And if he does not do that, if he plays knight takes f6, then again the same thing happens. I'll simply take rook takes f6, g takes f6, bishop h6. And now again I'm threatening queen g5 and then checkmate. So again, practically this is a very difficult thing to face, and that's the reason my opponent just ignored this. He played the move g6. And this is something which I can say I would like to give my opponent great kudos for this, that I was coming up with all of these tricks. I was coming up with various different threads, tricks and so on, but my opponent just simply ignored all of those things. He was not interested in all of these tricks. He was just focusing on how he can come out of this position to fight back. And this is something which is really important, something which we should learn. So my opponent played g6 here and I played the move knight a2, which is again an amazing move to drive away the bishop. So my plan was that if he plays bishop c5, then I could take bishop takes c5, knight takes c5, and then the knight has gone away from the entire line. So I can play something like queen e6 with the idea of playing queen h6, and then maybe if my opponent is not that careful, I can try for queen g7 mate. And if he plays the move bishop d6, then I can also play queen d3, and then I can capture queen takes d7. So in the real game, my opponent again ignored this and played rook e8. So my opponent just was developing his pieces, he was not concerned on what I am doing. So I took his bishop, he took back a into b4, and here my a4 pawn is attacked. So I should have saved it with b3, but I played queen g4. What I mean is I could have saved it with b3, but I played queen g4, which is the best move. So I'm just counter-attacking, and as I always say, offense is the best defense. Whenever someone attacks you, rather than passively defending, think, how can I counter-attack? How can I create problems for my opponent? So I played queen g4, and here my opponent played the move rook e6. So he's attacking the f6 pawn, he's putting pressure on the f6 pawn, and I have to save it. So I saved this pawn with queen g5. Now my idea is to play queen h6 at the right moment and then threaten queen g7 mate. My opponent took rook takes a4 here, and he thought that after rook a4, if I play queen h6, he can play rook into f6. And this is another critical moment. Now I have improved my position, I have understood what exactly am I going to do next. However, how to continue forward. And the important part is that whenever we get some critical moments, whenever we understand that we are in a critical position, we have to sit down and think. This is what most players don't do. Even in critical positions, I have seen players playing fast, not paying that much attention, and that's the reason they get into trouble. Because a critical position, here we have to think first and only then we have to make a move. So in this particular position, I have multiple moves. I can play h4, I can play rook takes d7, I can play rook f3, and I have to evaluate this position and then understand which move should I play. So in the real game, I played the move rook f3. And the simple reason for this is because if I played rook into d7, he will simply take queen into d7, queen h6, and he will simply take rook takes f6. And now you see that I have a bishop, but for that he has 3 pawns. And this position didn't look that great to me. I thought that the b2 pawn also will be captured, so I just rejected this. So I didn't like the move h4 as well, because if I play h4 here, then even after h5 and h into g6, I don't see much happening. Black can easily defend all these threats, and who knows, going forward, Black can even launch some kind of attack with c5, c4. So I thought that let's not go into this line and let's go for rook f3, maybe rook df1, rook h3, and then go for mate. So that's what I did. I played rook f3, he played b3. Now his idea was to capture the e4 pawn, and he was going to he is threatening the e4 pawn right now. So I have to do something in order to save this pawn. So for that reason, I played queen h6. And now you might be wondering, but Heramb, how is this saving the pawn? Aren't you just losing the pawn there? And that's not the real case here, because if he captures rook takes e4 here, I would simply play queen g7, and that is the end of the game. That is game over. So for that reason, after I played queen h6, he immediately took knight takes f6. He thought that after knight f6, he has won the battle, he has captured the f6 pawn, and he would do just amazing. But that was not the case, because here I played the move bishop g5, and now the idea is very simple, that if he captures knight takes e4, I have this beautiful move rook d8 check, and after queen takes d8, bishop takes d8, it's a completely winning position, because if he plays rook a1, which seems like a checkmate, it's not actually checkmate. I can play rook f1. And for this particular reason, he cannot take knight takes e4. So he played the move queen b6 check first, and after I played king h1, he played knight g5. And now he is threatening my queen, plus he is also threatening knight f2 check. So if I'm not careful, I play queen h3, he will play knight f2 check. But here I was extremely careful and I played the best move, that is queen h4. And now the point is he cannot play the move knight f2 because I can simply take rook takes f2 here. And that's the reason in this particular position, the black player, he played the move h5. And this seems like a good move, this seems like a great idea, but the problem is this is a mistake. Because when he plays the move h5, now I have a tactical variation here which I can use to win the game, and that is the move h3. So I played the move h3, and here my opponent just blitzed out the move rook takes e4. He thought that I have missed the tactic, and after h takes g4, rook takes g4, the queen is attacked, and when the queen moves, he simply takes rook takes g5. And this sounds like a dream come true for the black player. However, I had already calculated all of these variations. So after h3 rook into e4, I immediately played the move rook d8 check. So sadly, this was the end for my opponent, because now if he plays the move king h7 here, I can simply play rook takes f7, and that is checkmate. And that's the reason my opponent played the move king g7, hoping that after h into g4 he will get some play. But sadly, after h into g4, if he plays rook into g4, I can simply play bishop f6 check, and if king h7, I can play rook h8 checkmate. And now my opponent was really frustrated. I could see him that he knows that he has lost the game, and he was trying various different things to hold a draw. But now this was a pretty easy win. So I simply took h into g4, black played f5, which was a good move, which was a good try, I must say. But now it is practically over. I simply played rook f d3. My idea is to play rook 3 d7 check, and that would be soon checkmate. So he saved it by playing rook d4. I took rook into d4, e into d4, and I played g into f5. So when I played g into f5, now the idea is that if he takes g into f5, I can have multiple ideas. I can simply take queen into h5, or I can first play rook d2 check, and then when I play rook d2 check, the king goes back, then I can take queen into h5. So here he played g into f5, and that's what I did. I played rook d7 check first, king went to g6, and here I played the final move, bishop f4, and the move queen g5 is unstoppable. And here my opponent resigned. Of course, he was very sad with his performance because there was a 700 plus rating gap between his rating and my rating, and he was not happy. But I could say, even when he had lost, he had played an amazing game. So that was one of my games with a top player like an international master. In the next video, I would show you one of the similar games I played with a FIDE master, which was equally interesting. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and comment in the chat what was the most interesting point in the game that you found to be amazing. Thank you everyone. Bye bye.